Welcome to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.
In this podcast, we'll explore the potential and the limits of machine learning systems to take fair decisions based on the right data. Ready for the challenge?
Artificial intelligence has become an integral part of our lives. We rely on AI to find the fastest route to the office,
You've arrived at your destination.
filter our mails, or suggest films we may like. But when it comes to making decisions, we humans still think we know better. But is that so?
Well, it's true that automated decision-making by systems that use machine learning to improve performance are still seen as missing the human perspective and flexibility to adapt to the particular nuances of specific cases. But before we make this judgment, we need to understand how these systems work.
Machine learning is a form of artificial intelligence in which machines develop and perfect their own decision-making processes based on the analysis of a wealth of data on previous similar situations.
Based on this initial data, the machine can learn from the solutions that were found, identify patterns, and come up with its own decisions.
So, the tasks of programmers now is no longer to identify the specific steps to design the right algorithm to solve the problem, but finding the right data or set of examples that will lead the machine learning system to adjust its decision-making process.
But the big question remains, can we trust they'll make the right decisions?
Well, the short answer is, it depends on us. Machine learning systems act as a mirror of society, so if we feed them biased data, they'll produce biased results, which can lead to further discrimination against minorities and other population groups.
A typical example is the poor results some facial recognition systems present when identifying black women, just because not enough images of black women were fed to them in the learning process. So, the broader the dataset, the better the chances of obtaining a valid and fair result, although there is no prior way of knowing whether the available data is enough to collect all aspects of a given problem.
And there's also the problem of accountability because of the high number of actors and applications involved. In other words, when AI misbehaves or fails, who is to blame? The user of the system? The owner? The manufacturer? Or the developer?
In the absence of clear guidelines, the tendency seems to be blame it on the machine, which leads to lack of trust and acceptance. So, more transparency and traceability are needed if we want to be able to correct malfunctions and biases and increase people's trust in artificial intelligence.
And there's also a need to address privacy and security concerns. For instance, by building more robust and reliable systems and adding layers of protection against cyber attacks.
So, what can the EU do about all this? Stay with us.
Well, on the technology side, researchers in Europe are already working on solutions to correct biases in the data we use to train machine learning systems and ensure that AI tools are fair and safe to use for consumers. But there is always a trade-off between limiting access to some information on grounds of confidentiality to mitigate bias and reducing the accuracy of AI tools.
On the policy side, it's important to be able to regulate AI without obstructing its development. So, one of the novelties introduced by the Commission's Artificial Intelligence Act is the creation of regulatory sandboxes, which make it possible to test new technologies transparently and contribute to evidence-based lawmaking.
European laws like the Artificial Intelligence Act can apply not only to algorithms but also to datasets and enforce the explainability of decisions made by machine learning systems.
And to further increase transparency and accountability, standard-setting organizations such as ISO and CEN have proposed to set up ethics committees on AI to certify the systems and datasets used in machine learning.
So as you can see, there's still plenty of work to do if we are ever to fully trust machines making decisions for us. But in the end, because automated systems lack the cunning to hide their own biases, they can really be fairer than humans when their decisions are based on data that has been properly curated.
Want to know more? Check out Andres Garcia's full policy brief on the EPRS website or in our app.
This is a European Parliamentary Research Service podcast.
Thanks for listening.